left bra cup. Rule 5. She must never, ever get caught. He hated this. Especially hated having to do it at the table in the gloomy basement, the stockroom, where he'd just been about to have lunch. At the same table the girls walked by on their way back up to the shop floor with stacks of shoeboxes balanced up their fronts and tucked under their chins. They slowed as they passed to give the girl hard, disgusted stares, as though she had stolen their own shoes from their feet. She was really pretty, and not in the painted, tired way the girls from the shop were either. He knew that would get their backs up. Her shoulders were uncovered, and he could just see the shine of sweat glistening in the crooks of her elbows when she stretched her arms across the table. He was nervous. Her pale eyes dropped to the open foil of a sandwich between them, right by the offending shoes. "You eat?" "No, I was about to." A stutter crept in, the very slightest fuzziness at the beginning of words, and he tried to disguise it with a cough. "Do you mind? I thank you." He couldn't think what to reply, and watched as her bony hand snatched his sandwich from the table. Corned beef, lots of pickle. His sandwich that he'd been looking forward to all morning, and took several hungry bites, leaving a red crescent around the ghost of white teeth in the bread. "What is your name?" "David. Dave, really." He smiled and then pulled himself up. "But that's not really the point, is it? What is your name? Yeah." He nodded, like they were finally on track. "That's the point." "I go tomorrow," she said, half-chewed sandwich just visible. "What? Go where?" "I say I go tomorrow." She exhaled through her nostrils noisily. He raised his voice a little. "And last night, where did you sleep?" He enunciated every syllable, left large pauses in between the words, and she lowered the sandwich for a moment, gave him what his mum would have called daggers. "I speak English, for God's sake. Is hostel in Peckham?" She matched his raised voice and left even bigger pauses. "Hotel? You're on holiday here?" Now he was getting somewhere. "No, hostel. I live here. Tomorrow I go find the room to live." She ripped off a piece of tinfoil and was rolling it into a ball. He couldn't stop watching it. "Where was your home before London?" Dave asked. "Siberia." She was using the palm of her hand to roll the ball back and forth across the table now. He felt stupid, and he couldn't stop looking at her hand hovering back and forth like that. "It is Russia." "Yeah, I know that. Though it would have been a guess at best. Can you stop, please?" He leaned across and snatched the tinfoil ball. In return, the slightest raise of a mocking eyebrow, a very slow smile. "Some people do not." The girls kept thumping extra hard up the stairs, whispering to each other. Later, those same girls would sit at that same table and gossip about the red-headed shoplifter and how she ate poor Davy's sandwich, the cheeky little bitch. The nearly stolen shoes, silver high-heeled brogues made of slippery, soft leather lay between Dave and Alena, and as she crumpled the last bit of crust into her mouth, she fiddled with one of the shoelaces. Her eyes batted up to Dave. He noticed she had a childish smear of pickle at the corner of her mouth, and wanted to reach across and wipe it, almost did, then clasped his hands in his lap. "Right, well, I can see there's no straight answers here. It's store policy to call the police, so is there anything else you want to say before they get here?" He couldn't say if it was her mouth, eyes, or the tilt of her head, but somehow her whole face changed then. She gave him a single word. "Please." She looked down at her hands, and when she looked up her face was softer, one hand brought to her neck. "I'm apologize to you. I am confused." As she spoke, she counted off each point on her fingers. "I am new. I try on shoes. I am confusing about taking off." The rise and fall of her accent put him in mind of seagulls swooping for scraps. His stomach knotted up. Just his luck to get indigestion from the sandwich she had eaten. "You tried to walk out of the shop wearing them." He pulled out a curling pair of dusty blue flip-flops. "You dropped these because you were going so fast. You set off the alarm and still tried to leave the shop. Honestly, I wish this was my decision, but—" She straightened, then placed her forearms on the table, looked at him, and met his eye for the first time. A jolt.